Very interesting. Let's bring in Charlie Gasparino. He is live from a restaurant here, a very well-known restaurant here in New York City, because you've been talking to these restaurant owners. Charlie, if our viewers don't know, you spend a lot of time out and about around this city. You talk to a lot of restaurant owners. What are you hearing from that owner?
And by the way, these are small businesses. They don't make a lot of money. They serve the elite. San Pietro here in Midtown Manhattan serves the elite of Wall Street. But these are immigrants that came here with no money in their pocket, created a business. I would say this, Sandra, the biggest takeaway I got from the numbers today was still the very high or very low labor participation rate. It's still not good. It means that people are still not going to work, and there is a need for workers. And, you know, don't take my word for it. All you have to do is ask New York City restaurateur Gerardo Bruno. Listen to what he has to say.
We used to run a staff for 40 people. We had 40 people on staff before the pandemic. Now we have 3 waiters, 2 cooks, and 2 dishwashers.
So they don't want to work?
They don't want to work because I think the government is keeping them home.
You know, I've spent a lot of time talking to Gerardo. We're going to be doing hits with him on Fox Business. The major takeaway is this. Gerardo is the owner of San Pietro, co-owner with his brother Cosimo, who is the chef. This is the takeaway, Sandra. They can't compete with the government. It's one thing to compete for wages and people with the restaurant across the street. That's the way it's supposed to be. But when the government is literally handing out lots of money to stay home, to do everything at home and not going to work, restaurants like these are going to be squeezed. And how do they get squeezed? Much higher wages, inflation. Again, they operate on very thin margins. So Jen Psaki and probably President Obama should go out and talk to some people like this to understand what the policies of the Biden administration in terms of making it difficult for these restaurants to compete for workers because they're competing against the government, what it's doing to small businesses. And it's a microcosm of the problems that we're going to face. Higher inflation possibly, and maybe restaurants going out of business because they can't pay the bills with inflation.
But that's what those governors in those red states were hearing. They were hearing from the small businesses who were saying, we're ready to open our doors, we're ready to cook and serve the public again, but we can't get a dishwasher, we can't get waiters, we can't get people back to work here. This is a map of the United States showing those states, 25 of them now and growing, that have decided to reverse course on these extended federal unemployment checks. You are not standing in one of those states, Charlie. And so therefore, a lot of these restaurants like that one are struggling.
Yeah, and Governor Cuomo is doing nothing about it. And it's really a shame because we are not supposed to be in a recession right now. The vaccines work. People are opening up. Everything is opening up. There's a shortage of workers. We should not be telling people to stay home. It's one of the dumbest economic moves I've seen in a long time. And as you know, Sandra, you and I have been covering economics a long time. These guys do a lot of dumb things. Back to you.
Well put there. No, I think it's fascinating. And Jen Psaki to say, well, we don't see any correlation to the unemployment checks and people not going to work. That labor participation rate you talked about, it's a key number. It gets a little in the weeds, but it takes into account not just people who are actively working, but actively looking for work, which is so important right now. Charlie, you are just at home when you're at a New York City restaurant. Whenever you see Charlie at a New York City restaurant, you say that he holds court. He does indeed. Good to see you, Charlie.
Well, thanks. Talk to you later.
All right.